So question number 21 says, you are provided with the following extracts of the statement of profit or loss for Sepetuka Limited. So we have the statement of profit or loss extract for the year ended, the year 2019, 20, 21, 2022. So we have all that. Now we are told calculate and interpret the following ratios. 1, annual revenue growth rates for years 20, 21, and 22. 3 years cumulative growth rate, effective tax rate for the period 2019 to 2022. Now assume the following for Sepetuka Limited. Assume the following for Sepetuka Limited. 1, revenue growth rates are forecast under 3 scenarios, namely base case, optimistic case, and pessimistic case. The base case growth rate for the first year forecast is the 2022 cumulative average growth rate. This is expected to reduce by 2% annually until the last year of the forecast, subject to a minimum of 15%. The optimistic case is 20% above the base case, while the pessimistic case is 10% below the base case in all forecast periods. Gross profit margin for the first year of the forecast is a 3-year average for the period from year 2020 to year 2022. This is expected to reduce by 2% annually until the last year of the forecast, subject to a minimum of 50%. Operating expense ratios are modeled as 3-year averages for the period from 2020 to 2022. These are assumed to remain constant over the forecast period. Depreciation to revenue ratio is assumed to remain constant as a 3-year average for the period 2020 to 2022. Finance costs are expected to reduce steadily as the loans are repaid. Use the reduction rate in year 2022 over the forecast period. Income tax expense is calculated as the historical effective tax rate. Now prepare 5-year forecast statements of profit or loss for Sepetuka Limited from year 2023 to 2027. So that is what you are taught to do. Joy, we are dealing with the paper of December 2022. Question number 21. I had sent all these papers in the group. Just check. Have you seen it? Okay, good. So I hope everyone, you are supposed to open that paper. You are supposed to open that paper, and then you shall be working on it as I work on mine. That's how we go about it. You open the paper, and then you shall be working on it as I'm working on mine. Okay. So now if we are all there, let's have the answer now. Let's have the answer. So the first thing they're asking us, we can say equals. We come and copy this. We paste it there. So they're asking us for the annual growth rate for the years 2020 to 2021. Now, how do we get the growth rate? How do you get the growth rate? The growth rate is simply the growth rate is simply open the brackets, you get the new value, you minus the current value or the old value, you close the brackets, then you divide by the current value. That's one of the ways of getting the growth rates. It's one of the ways that we use to get the growth rates. Alternatively, if you don't want to use that, you could also use this one. The new value, you divide by the current value, you minus 1. Either way works. Either way. And so they're asking us for so we can have the year here. We can have the year. They want for 2020. They want 2022. No, sorry. 2021 and 2022. That's what they want. So we come here and type growth rate. They are calling it revenue growth rate. So we type revenue growth rate. Revenue growth rate. So when you come for the year 2020, you will say equals, open the brackets. Open the brackets. You take the revenue for 2020. This one. The revenue for 2020. You minus the revenue for 2019. This one. Close the brackets. You divide by the revenue
Mwalimu,
for
repeat
2019.
hapo.
Yes.
Repeat hapo anza.
You are lost
come
there.
to revenue 2020.
Yes, I'm saying for us to get the growth rate for 2020, you'll say equals, you get the revenue, you first of all open the brackets, then you get the revenue of 2020, that is the new value, that's our new value. You minus the revenue for 2019, that is the current value, or the old value. Close the brackets, then you divide by the revenue for 2019. When you do so, press enter, send me the answer. And make sure you said yours. When you said, I'm able to know that we are together, all of us. Yeah. Said your answer, I can see them coming in. So when I press, I get 0.2. Now this 0.2, you can convert it to percentage. So you just click on it here. Halafu ukuje hapa kumeandikwa percent. You click there. And then you can autofill. You can autofill that way. It will work that way. You can autofill and it will work that way for you in that very easy manner.
Mwalimu, I have a question.
Yes.
In the formula, we said you divide by the current value.
Yes.
And this one we have divided with by 2019.
Yes.
Are we supposed to divide by 2019 or 2020 because we are calculating the growth rate for 2020?
Now in this definition, 2020 now is the new. 2020 is the new value. The current is 2019.
Okay. Okay.
Or maybe if that is a bit confusing, I could change it this way. I could change the language this way. I say it is the current value. You divide by the previous value.
Yeah.
You minus the previous value. You divide by the previous. That one now you can easily relate with. Is that so?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. You could also, some people use the new old. New old. You can also use t minus 1 or t plus 1. There are many ways. But the key thing is to know that what we are calling new or current is the one that the year has just ended. So you compare with the previous year. That's the key concept. If you want to know the growth that has taken place in 2020, you will have to get the values of 2020, compare with the values of 2019. Actually, I had said there is also another formula that you can use of saying the current value divided by the previous value, unafunga brackets, una minus 1. It would also give you the same answer. Yeah, the current. Like now I can try here. Nichukue hii niseme equals, nifungue brackets. Nichukue hii 2020. I divide by this one. I close the brackets and I say minus 1. I should get the same answer. Can you see that? Muraithi, is that okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So we have gotten the growth rate. This is like a formula that we shall keep on coming across in several questions. They like using this growth rate so much. Now, number 2. So we can come and have it here. We say equals. We copy this one. Now they want the cumulative. So how do you get the cumulative? The cumulative average growth rate. The cumulative average growth rate the cumulative average growth rate, the cumulative average growth rate is equals to, you open the brackets, you talk of add value, divide by start value, close the brackets, close the brackets, you raise to power. Hiyo ya kuraise iko wapi? Hiyo kamshahara ya kuraise. I have a new keyboard. Where have they put it? Yeah, nimeiona kwa number 6. You raise to power, open the brackets, 1 divide by naitwa periods. The periods, close the brackets, then you say minus 1. Is what we call the geometric average or the geometric mean. The add value divide by start value, then you raise to power. Just look for it kabisa in your machine. Different keyboards have it at different points. Like now, today I'm using a new keyboard. My other keyboard ilikuanga wapi? Bado ilikuwa kwa number 6. Iko kwa number 6, lakini sasa yangu hii wameandika in a way that is very clear. So look for it. Ebu angalia kwa button number 6, Maureen. Kama utaona ako ka sign.
Nimeiona.
Okay.
I've seen it.
Good, good. Haya, so kama tumeiona, tukuje hapa. Tuseme the cumulative, now we can use the initials. Ama tuandike details hapa. Tumeambiwa tutafute for the year 2022. So tukuje hapa tuseme CAGR, cumulative average growth rate. We come and bring it here. We say equals, open the brackets. Open the brackets. Twende pale kwa the year 2022. You click on this revenue. You click on this revenue. You divide by the very first, here 54. The very first. Then close the brackets. Then you raise to power. You raise to power. Open the brackets. Open the brackets. Then you press 1. You divide by. Now this is how you count. This is how you count. You count from the end backwards, but you do not include the start. You count from the end backwards without including the start. So it is 1, 2, 3. So we are dealing with 3 periods. We are dealing with 3 periods. So our periods are 3. So you type 3, then close the brackets. When you close the brackets, you now say minus 1. Minus 1. When you say minus 1, now press enter and we get to know what is it there for us.
Mwalimu, hiyo itabidi urudie.
Hata mimi nilikuwa nataka kusema hivyo.
Okay. Haya, turudie tu pole pole. You type equal sign on the cell where you want that value to go. Hapo. You open the brackets. You open the brackets. When you open the brackets, you click on the last revenue here. This one. You're the add value. You divide it by the start value. This one here, 54. Then you close the brackets. When you close the brackets, you press shift and number 6, you raise to power. You raise to power. Open the brackets again. Open the brackets again. You press 1. Then you say divide. We are dividing by 3 periods. And I've said you count from the last year, going backwards, 1, 2, 3, but you do not include the first period. So we have 3. You close the brackets. Then you say minus 1. So I hope now everyone is at par. So press enter, send the answer. I can see already others had sent. Send the answers, those who are repeating. Okay, nafikiri kila mtu ako sawa. Ukiachwa unasema. Ukiachwa unasema. Hapa tusemi ukiachwa ukubali kuachika. Hapa tunasema ukiachwa usikubali. Haya, so we have that. Let's go now bring the third requirement. A third requirement is effective tax rate. So effective tax rate, obviously, effective tax rate should be equal to the current tax expense. The current tax expense, you divide by the profit before tax. The profit before tax, you can multiply by 100. Yeah, that's the formula of getting the effective tax rate. So we have details here. We can do this from 2019. Actually, that's what they are saying. 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Yeah, so now here we come and get the effective in 2019, you say equals, you come and get the tax. It's here. And because they have given it as a negative, because wameipeana kama negative, you start by typing negative so that it converts that to positive. You convert it to negative, to positive by typing negative. You click on this. Then you divide by the profit before tax here. The profit before tax. Press enter. Tell me what you're getting.
Mwalimu, hapa umekimbia.
So I'm saying,
There is
have
something
you
you
written
say
the
you
formula?
change.
Eh?
There is something you have said you change the positive to negative. The
Yes, you
negative to
start
positive.
by typing negative, negative sign, because this value is negative. So you first of all type negative, then you click on this tax. Then you divide by the profit before tax. Press enter, set the answer. You can see the answer is coming. So set the answers. Yes, good. Okay. Yeah, John, immediately you speak, you also unmute, you mute,
Okay. Okay.
because you are recording, they pick the background noise. So I press, now this one, you just press here, percentage, and then you can autofill. You can autofill that way. You can autofill. You can autofill to get the 30%. Good. Now, what I need to mention is that in the CASNEB exam, you don't have to keep on writing these formulas. You don't have to keep on writing these formulas. You should just know them in your head. And the examiner will be able to know very, very well whether you know it, because I only need to click the answer you have given here, and it will be reflected on the formula bar. Once I click the answer here, like this one, I am able to see on the formula bar what you have used. Yeah. So you don't have to keep on writing the formula. But for me, because I'm teaching, that's why I'm writing, so that when you are revising, you are able to clearly remember. But in the exam, you don't take time and energy to write the formulas. Just go straight, and that will be sufficient. Good. We are done with the requirements of A. We go to the requirement of B. B requires we do a 5-year forecast statement. So I'll come here and say equals. I take this one. 5-year statement. So in this 5-year statement, I will come here and say these are details. I wanted to pick the whole of it. Or I can just do the 5 years. can just do the 5 years forecast. Okay, so if we are doing 5 years from 2022, so we shall do 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027. Yeah. And these figures equals, these figures are in shillings, thousands. So you can copy this. Then you autofill. Why is it this one giving me 0? Yeah. So this one, you can make them bold, though not a must. Though not a must, but it's always good to make your work outstanding. Haya, sasa, we can come and copy these figures. Naona hizi, these names. Let's copy. Control C. Then you come and paste here. Control V. Okay. Aha, kama umefika hapo, sema yes. Right, yes, if you are there. Yeah, good. Now let us do the formulas. Let's do the formulas of how these things will be. How these things will be. We know here we will have the sales. Here we have the cost of sales, and this will be the gross profit. So the gross profit will be given as sales here minus the cost of sales. The gross profit will be given as sales minus the cost of sales. So you press enter. And this one we can give it a top border. Border zinakuanga hapa. Kwa hii kona hapa kumeandikwa these lines. The bottom border so you just click here. Inakuletea hizi borders, these borders. So you take the top border. You take the top border. Okay, hapa. Then you autofill. Hii una autofill mpaka hapa. So tukishaweka values takuwa zinajileta hapo. Tukuje hapa kwa operating expenses. Operating expenses, we shall less them from the gross profit so that we get the operating profit. So we say this operating profit will be equal to gross profit minus the operating profit. Not operating profit, operating expenses. Gross profit minus the operating expenses. So press enter. Alafu sasa you click back there, put the top border, you autofill. Najipanga hapo. Tukuje kwa profit before interest and tax. Profit before interest and tax will be given as the operating profit minus the depreciation. The operating profit minus the depreciation. Press enter. Click on it, then click hapa tu tena straight because you already have selected the top border. Hivyo. Aha, kama umeachwa up to that point, let me know. Good. Silence means we are good. Haya, tuende kwa profit before tax. Profit before tax is given as the profit before interest and tax minus the finance costs. You minus the finance costs, then do the top border here, and then you autofill that way. Then we have the profit after tax should be equal to this minus this. And when you do so, now this one we can give it top and double bottom. So turudi hapa kwa borders, utafute hii inaitwa top and double bottom. Top and double bottom border, that's what we do in accounts. Then you autofill. So we have now put the formulas there. We have put the formulas. So we are now going to pay attention to the additional information. We are going to pay attention to the additional information so that we can start guided on what to do. Now, point number 1 says, revenue growth rates are forecast under 3 scenarios, namely base case, optimistic case, and pessimistic case. You remember these things from your advanced financial management, sensitivity analysis. Now, the base case growth rate for the first year forecast is 2022 CAGR. This is expected to reduce by 2% annually until the last year of the forecast, subject to a minimum of 15. The optimistic case is 20% above the base, while the pessimistic case is 10% below the base case in all the forecast periods. Itabidi tukuje hapa tufanye some workings. So kuja hapa tuandike workings. So sasa hapa workings. I'm trying to see how we shall avoid duplications. Let me first of all board these as I think. So here I can put details. Now, this will be 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Yeah. So I want to capture these original data that we have. Yeah, these original data that we had here, this one. Instead of adding new spaces here. Okay. Sasa tukuje hapa tumeambiwa we can, they are saying the base case growth rate for the first year forecast is 2022 CAGR. 2022 CAGR. Itabidi nimerudi to what I was avoiding. Sawa. 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027. I was avoiding that. That inakaa sina bahati. Okay. So we come here and we just write revenue growth rate. Revenue growth rate, you can make it bold. Now there are three cases. There is the base case. There is the base case. There is a base case. So the base case for 2023 here, we are told it is the CAGR. This one, CAGR for 2022. And that CAGR for 2022, ndio hii tulikuwa tumecompute hapa. So I will come here in 2023 here, and I say equals, then I click this one. And I press enter. And I press enter. Higher. What else are we told? They are saying this, that this is expected to reduce by 2% annually until the last year of the forecast, subject to a minima of 15%. So the meaning of that is this. Tutakuja hapa. When we are now going to the year 2024, it will be equal to this one, this 21, we subtract 2, is reducing by 2. But it must not go below 15%. Now here, there is a function we came across when we were looking at the basics or the functions of Excel, a function we called max. A function we called max. That's the one that we are going to use. That's the one that we are going to use. So, utasema equals, then you open the brackets, and you take these 21, you take 21, then you say minus 0.02, 0.02, you put a comma, and then you put 0.15. Because what we want Excel to give us is the higher of 21 minus 2 and 15. Because we do not want to reduce by less than 15. If you are comfortable with what I'm saying, just press enter, tell me the answer. If you want me to repeat, you can say. Oh, there is something I've not done. I have not put the word max. So don't press enter. Rudi hapa between equal sign and the brackets, and you type max. You double click. I had forgotten to put that. There should be max equals max. Open the brackets. The 21. So kama tuko sawa, press enter, tell me the answer. Yes, I can see 2 answers. Another one, yes. Good. So 19. Now autofill this. Autofill this. Yeah. When you autofill, you can see it has stopped at 15. It has stopped at 15. Okay, think we are good. Higher. That is now the base case. Let's go to the next one. What are they saying? They are saying the optimistic case is 20% above the base. So tukuje hapa tuandike optimistic. Optimistic case. When you are told it is 20% above, what that means, tutakibia hapa. Tutakibia hapa. I actually did not require these years 2019. Maybe I may require them down. So takuja hapa tuseme equals. You take this one. You multiply by 120%. So you multiply by 1.2. Give me the answer. Now, usipoelewa anything, let me know. So 1.2 is the 20% that we are told is higher. Or they're saying? Yeah, it's 20%, yeah. So give me the answer. Can see one has come. Yes, good. Yeah. So if I convert this to percentages, click here, it's 25. Then you autofill all the way mpaka hapo. You autofill. Let's go to the pessimistic case. Pessimistic case. Now, in the pessimistic case, we shall say equals. Equals what? They're telling us while pessimistic case is 10% below the base case, is 10% below. So if it's 10% below, I will say it is this CAGR, the base, times 0.9. Press enter. Tell me the answer. Yeah, 19. So you autofill. When you autofill, now we have 3 rates. and we are forecasting revenue. So which one of these do you think we should use? The base or the optimistic or the pessimistic? Which one do you think we should use? Let me see. Which one do you think we should use? Why should we use the optimistic? Because we are anticipating growth. Yeah, if we are anticipating growth, we can use that. Have they said that they are anticipating growth? They have not said, but even looking at what has been happening here in the other years, we can see there has been growth. So you can go with that. We should use optimistic. Because we anticipate continuity of growth pattern. Yeah. So that is one of the rationale you can use. You can also use this one, the pessimistic. You can use pessimistic and say, I am going to use pessimistic because of the prudence concept. Now, prudence concept tells us when you are forecasting revenues or you are estimating revenues and incomes, you should understate while you should overstate liabilities and expenses. So you can also build your case on prudence concept. You could also use the base, as the average. So bora you try to justify it is acceptable. But in the exam, again, we do not expect you to do a lot of justification. All what this paper is testing is your ability to do these computations using Excel. Is your ability to use this Excel to do what we normally do without Excel. But if you're making a presentation, maybe in the office or to your client or wherever, you need to know how to argue your case because someone will pin you down. Why are you using this and not the other one? Good. So for now, we agree that we use the optimistic. So if we are using the optimistic, then utakuja hapa tuseme equals. Tuseme equals. We go up here and take the revenue that was here for 2022, this one. That one. That is the one that we want now to grow to 2023. So you say times, then you open the brackets. You open the brackets. When you open the brackets, you say 1 plus 1 plus, you come and take this optimistic, this one here, and close the brackets. And close the brackets. So press enter and tell me the figure. Press enter, tell me the figure. Okay, good. So we can do away with decimals. We can do away with decimals because even here in the original, they did not have. So this is what we are going to do. Let's format these cells. Let's format these cells. So select all these cells, all these ones. Namna hii. You select them. You come up here. When you are at home, you come here where there is this comma, this big comma. So you click on it. When you click on it, itakuwekea the decimals. Then uklik na hii, this decrease decimal. Ndio tubaki na those figures ikiwa namna hiyo. But if you want to use decimals, well and good. Remember when we covered the issue on roundings, we said Excel does not change the real number. They only change the display. But when you use it in subsequent applications, the number remains. Now this one, let's autofill. The revenue, let's autofill. We autofill mpaka hapa. Hey, why is it not... Oh, okay. Will not enjoy the concept of autofilling because of relative cell formula. So, kama tungezileta zikiwa pamoja hapa, kama tungeleta the 2019 to 2022 hapa, ndio zigeenda. So, itabidi tumesimama kwa column moja, tukuje hapa, ndio tuenjoy hiyo. We now take this one, we take this one, times 1 plus 1 plus, we now take this one, 23, close the brackets, press enter. Enter and tell me the figure. Give me the figure. Tumechukua this one for 2023. We multiply by the percentage now in 2024. Set the figure, set the figure. I need more figures. I need more figures. Good. So sasa this one we can autofill. Hii tunaweza autofill because now we have this one. That way. Oh. So are we agreeing with those values? Are you agreeing with those values? Okay. Higher. So if we are agreeing, let's proceed on now to the next. The next item inasema gross profit margin for the first year of the forecast is the 3-year average for the period from year 2020 to year 2022. The gross profit margin for the first year is a 3-year average for the period from 2020 to 2022. So this is expected to reduce by 2% annually until the last year of the forecast, subject to a minimum of 50%. Sasa itabidi tumekuja hapa. We do gross profit margin. Gross profit margin. Can make this bold. Then here we call it actual. Then we need to get the average. And then we need to get the forecasts. We have mentioned of those three things. So the growth rates, tutaanza hapa 2020, the actual. The actual will be equal to, we open the brackets, tutatumia ile formula ingine tulikuwa tumepeana hapa juu, this one. This one. So tukuja hapa kwa this table, the gross profit ya 2020, this one, you divide by this one for 2019, you close the brackets, then you minus 1. Uchukue the gross profit ya 2020, you divide by the gross profit of 2019. 2019, you minus 1, send me the answer. Send me the answer. Yeah, send me the answer, send the answer, send the answer. Okay, good. 50%, so I convert this to percent. Now, autofill this up to hapa kwa 2022. You autofill mpaka hapo kwa 2022. Haya, tumefanya hivi. Tumekuja hapa tukasema we want the growth rate. We want the actual growth. We want the growth rate of the gross. Sidi wanasema gross profit margin for the first year. Yeah. We want to see the growth rate here. We want to see the growth rate. Or maybe you can, we could also compute the margin itself instead of using the figures. We get the margin itself. You can get the margin itself. Are they talking of the growth rate? Actually, it's not even growth rate. The gross profit margin for the first year of the forecast. Sure, it's not the growth rate. So is the margin. The margin, which is equals to, I can come here and modify that. Let me specify, is the gross profit. You divide by sales. Yeah, I think that is what we should do. So for 2019 equals to gross profit. You divide by sales. Yeah, I think it is not growth. It's not growth rate. It's the margin, the ratio. This one, it's not growth, the way I was computing it. So give me that answer. Give me that answer. The gross profit divided by sales. Okay, 40%. Someone else? Yeah, good. So I convert it into percentage. Then we autofill mpaka hapa kwa 2022 hivyo. Then we come here and get the average. We come and get the average. The average equals, unasema equals average. We are told we work with the average of how many years? The average for the year 2020 to the year 2022. So utatafuta average ya this growth, these actuals here, not the growth. I don't know why I'm. Maybe you are still computing growth rate, Peter. We have changed. We are computing the margin for the year 2019. For the year 2019, tumekuja hapa tukasema equals, you come here and get the gross profit that is given here. This gross profit here, you divide by these sales here. Press enter and tell me whether it still gives you 50. Even you, Kadia, you are getting 50. No, we are in 2019. We are taking the figures of 2019. Ama mimi nachukua ya 2020. 2019. We are taking the figures of 2019. This one and this. So Kadia and Peter, are we now aligned? So Kadia, you are giving average as 52. First of all, confirm, Kadia, that you have these values. When you start here 2019, remember our working is 2019 here. So when you autofill, ukuja hapa, sorry. When you autofill, kuanzia hapa mpaka hapa 2022, you should have those kind of values. So do you have such, Kadie? 4 of them? Yes. So if you have, then tukuja hapa 2022, tuseme equals, you type average, you double click here, you double click, then you pick these three, because they are saying they want for 2020, 2021, 2022. Close the brackets. Tell me the answer, Kadie. Yeah, good. That's from Peter. Yeah, good. So we are in agreement now. So the forecast, that's turudi tuangalia wanasema nini about the forecast. They are saying the gross profit margin for the first year of the forecast is the 3-year average from 2020 to 2022. Hiyo tushapata. This is expected to reduce by 2% annually until the last year of the forecast, subject to a minimum of 50. So the implication of that iko hapa. Tukikuja hapa kwa forecast for the first year of 2023, the forecast ni hii. Hii forecast hii 57. Hiyo ndio forecast. Now, when you get that, we are told it is reducing by 2% until we get to 50%. To 50%. So we just use the same method of equals, you type marks. Ile function tulitumia, double click. Alafu unasema this 57 minus 0.02, put a comma. Then you take 0.5, you close the brackets. When you close the brackets, press enter, tell me what you're getting. Press enter, tell me what you're getting. Yeah, 55. So let's autofill this. Let's autofill this up to here. I've reduced my font. If you are not able to see, let me know. I can expand it. Aya, so we are there. So kama tuko hapo, let's come here and fill in the cost of sales here. Now, cost of sales should be equal to this one, the sales, times, open the brackets, 1 minus the profit, the gross profit ratio. The gross profit ratio. That's how you get it. So tukuje tuchukue hii 57. You close the brackets. The cost of sales will be 1 minus the gross profit margin ratio. I press enter, send me the figure. Send me the figure. Send the figure, send the figure. Kisha unatuma yako. Let me not get just 2 or 3. Let's send. So you can autofill this figure now. Autofill this one all the way up to there. You can autofill. When you autofill, let's go now to this one, operating expenses, tusikie wanasema nini. Operating expense ratios are modeled as 3-year averages. And these are expected to remain constant. So tutakuja tu hapa, we dance the same rhythm. Kuja hapa tuseme operating expenses. And I can make them bold. So we will have, I can just copy these 3 words. Control C. Then I come here, Control V. Yeah. For the operating expenses, that we also require to get the actual. We require the average. And we require the forecast. So actual, tuanzie hapa, 2019. Obviously, this one is a ratio of revenue. Is a ratio of revenue. So utasema equals. Now, what you can see here, when we come to the operating expenses, they are already negative. This one is negative. So we will have to start by typing negative. We type negative so that it converts this into positive. So now you click this operating expense for 2019. We have said equals, tumeweka negative. Then you click on the operating expense for 2019. Then you divide by the revenue of 2019. You divide by the revenue of 2019. When you divide by that revenue of 2019, now press enter, tell me what you're getting. I can see we are getting 20. Sasa hii 20, you autofill. Yeah, let's autofill mpaka hapa kwa 2022 hapo. You autofill up to there, 2022. Then let's teremuka hapa and get the average by saying equals average. We are told to do the 3 years. So tutachukua kutoka hapa 16. Close the brackets, press enter, give me the answer. Give me the answer. Yeah, good. Sasa, hii 19, it is the one that is becoming the forecast. So na tunaambiwa it will remain constant, eh? It will remain constant. So you can just take this and then we anchor. I hope you remember venye tulikuwa tunafunga. Unaweka kasa hapa. You press shift button number 4, ndio uweke $sign hapo. Na hii hapa shift $sign ndio tuifunge, then when we autofill ibaki constant. Tumefunga hivyo, then you autofill ndio ibaki constant. If you don't autofill, if you don't anchor, if you don't put those $signs, haitakuwa constant. Haya, sasa hiyo inakuja hapa. So you say equals, because we already had put our formula tukasema ni negative, ile formula tuliweka, sasa hapa tutaieta tu ikiwa na positive because already tushaweka formula. So tutasema ni equals, you take the revenue, this one, times the revenue times this percentage here. The revenue times that percentage of 2023. So multiply. Give me the answer. Send your answer, send your answer. 22,845. Then you autofill. You autofill this value mpaka hapa. You autofill. Haya, tukimbie kwa depreciation. Tuone wanasema nini hapa juu. Depreciation to revenue ratio is assumed to remain constant as a 3-year average. So hiyo ni kama tu hii ya operating expense. So tukuja hapa chini tuweke depreciation expense. Let's copy these ones. Control C, you come and put them here. Average. Shaweka hivyo. We do the same. Equals. This depreciation yenye iko hapa kwa swali, it is again negative. It's again negative. So you start by negative sign. You take that depreciation. You divide by this revenue. Divide by the revenue. Press enter. Niambie the answer. Press enter. Good. I can see when we convert it to percent, inakuja 1%. So tukibie nayo mpaka hapa kwa 2022. Haya, tukisha kibia hivyo, we get the average again. Equals average. The average of these three. You close the brackets. Press enter. Still 1. Sasa hii nayo bado tumeambiwa it will remain constant. So we do the same. Equals. You take this and then you put the $signs. You say equals, click that one, that average. You press enter, then you autofill. Haya, tukibia hapa juu, tuweke sasa hii depreciation. Equals, you take these sales times that depreciation rate. Enter, tell me what you're getting. Yes, so when you enter, that's what you're getting. You autofill. You autofill. So you should get 36, 37 thereabout. Haya, tukuje kwa finance costs. So finance cost, we are told, finance costs are expected to reduce steadily as the loans are repaid. And we use the reduction rate in year 2022 over the forecast. So the reduction rate is the opposite of growth rate. The reduction rate is the opposite of growth rate. So we shall just compute it as growth rate. The only difference now is that growth inakuanga positive and reduction inakuwa negative. So tukuje hapa tuandike finance costs. So in the finance costs, let's just call it growth rate. Let's just call it growth rate. And this one, we can only start from the year 2020, the year 2020. So that we say equals, open the brackets, equals, open the brackets. Uchukue now the value of the interest of this one. This 7,000 for 2020 or 2020. So you say minus this. So you first of all say minus, you equal positive. You divide by minus this one. You close the brackets, then you minus 1. So tumeweka zote zikiwa negative, ndio zi turn to be positive. So after you minus 1, tell me the answer. Said the answer, said the answer. I can see some. Yeah, 40%. So sasa hii kibia nayo mpaka hapa. So you can see now in the last year, it is a decline. It's negative. It's a decline, meaning it's a negative. So sasa, we can still call it forecast. We can still call it the forecast. The forecast. Tumeambiwa we should use the decline rate. That's what they have said. Use the reduction rate in the year 2022 over the forecast period. So utasema ni equals to this, and then because it's going to remain constant, you put the dollar signs. It's going to remain constant, you put the dollar signs. Put the dollar signs. Once you put the dollar signs, it goes to 11, then you autofill. When you autofill, unakuja hapa kwa finance, unasema equals, you take the previous one, the previous, hii yenye ilikuwa hapa, this one, take it just the way it is, minus 8 times, open the brackets, 1 plus, you take this decline rate. 1 plus, you take that, and then you close the brackets. When you do that, ndiye nasema I'm lost. So we are saying this, you come here, tunataka kuweka hii, nataka kuweka hii, inatoka ikiwa negative, so we have to change the sign, because already tulishaweka ikiwa negative. So equals, kwanza weka negative, so turudie tuweke negative ndio itoke ikiwa positive, because ile tuliautopopulate ya kwanza tuliweka ikiwa positive, so lazima tuibadilishe hivyo. So useme equals negative, ukuje uchukue hii yenye ilikuwa ya mwisho, this one, then you say times, open the brackets, 1 plus, ukuje uchukue hii 7, this 11, close the brackets. So Kadia, press enter and tell me what you're getting. So we are good there. So if we are good, we autofill. No, that one we cannot autofill. Itabidi tumekuja kwa hii ingine bado. Itabidi tumekuja kwa hii. Tuchukue this one. So now that this one is already positive, atuweki negative. Is already positive. So uchukue hiyo useme times. Open the brackets. Open the brackets. 1 plus. Ukuje uchukue this one now. Close the brackets. Press enter. Uniambie unapata ngapi? Yes. So now this one you can autofill. This now will work. You can autofill. You can autofill this paka hapo. Yeah. Kuja kwa income tax. So income tax, they are saying income tax is calculated as the historical effective tax rate. So hiyo tutatumia tu hii. Naona hii tulikuwa tumecompute. Tulikuwa nayo wapi? This one. Hii ndio tutatumia tu. Tutatumia tu hii. We just anchor this. Instead of coming to do a working here, we just anchor that. So tukuje hapa tuseme equals. Kwanza chukua this tax rate, this one, year 2022, na uifunge. You put the dollar signs. Ndio iende ikicharge kila mahali. Ndio iende ikicharge kila mahali. Aya. Then you multiply by this one here. Press enter. Tell me what you have. Press enter, set the figure. Yeah, so there we are. The statement is complete. Any question there? We are done. We have answered all what the examiner wanted. So if there is no question, then we do what? We will we'll pick up from there in our next lesson. Thank you very much.